Well, you guys, congratulations on the movie. It's a really raw and personal story, and I really appreciate you taking the time and effort to tell it from through the lens of an Asian American teenager, Taiwanese teenager. When I was growing up, there was no one that looked like me on screen, so I really appreciate you highlighting that. Can you take us through the process of crafting the story, putting pen to paper, and then putting it on film?
Yeah, so as the lead creative director for the movie, this movie was inspired a lot by movies like Stand By Me and okay, you go. He got
That's
good.
pretty good.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think going off that, I think growing up, I really resonated to movies like Stand By Me and 400 Blows and he's good. Ratcatcher. I've always really, for whatever reason, been really affected by movies about youth and adolescence. And I think as I got older and became a filmmaker myself and had the confidence to tell more personal stories, I realized that like all the movies like Stand By Me, Sandlot, 400 Blows, like they never starred people who looked or talked or felt like me and my friends. And so when I thought about the canon of movies that really shaped me, movies like that, and again my own personal lived experience, I felt like, oh, I think there's stuff actually, not just the Taiwanese American upbringing and growing up in a place like Fremont that had a very multicultural community. I felt like even just the late 2000s and like growing up with MySpace and Facebook and AIM and the early YouTube, I felt like there was such a gap in our movie literacy of that specific era that it felt like ripe material to mine and try to contribute something new to a genre that I think is oversaturated, but try to get to something fresh through something that was very personal and hyper specific.
And for you, Isaac, what was your initial reaction to reading the script? Because you're literally like, when you cast him, like the age of Chris. So was it, when you're reading it, you're kind of like, oh my God, this literally mirrors my life? You're like, not the same experience, but also I got this.
I got this one.
Yeah. You want to do it?
I'll start it. I'll give it to you like
let's
last time. So me as the lead actor of this incredible film, I didn't like the script when I first got it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just so disappointed in my lead actor as the lead creative director of this movie. I'm just kidding.
What is lead creative?
I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like somewhere, in some place, in some time, I heard that. But what Sean did say is true. I actually didn't like the script, and it wasn't because of Sean's writing, which I thought was impeccable. Really, it was just because I didn't like the character itself. Like in my personal opinion, right? In like my own selfish opinion, I was like, oh, this character doesn't really like me, And like over time, I kind of realized like I just have to like kind of just like try to be one with this character because this character was good, right? It was an amazing character, really well written. It's just like I didn't know how to be this character because I wasn't like forcing myself to be vulnerable enough and put myself into their position,
Yeah.
But eventually, I got to like enjoy the character and I got to enjoy the script more than I did when I read it originally. And then I got to do the movie, and then now I'm stuck here with Sean
For the rest of your life.
until I die.
Speaking of vulnerability, let's talk about also Joan Chen's character, who I think was the heart and soul of the movie as well. And I like that what you did is you highlighted her as like multi-layer of not just her being Chris's mom, but also being like the good daughter-in-law. And I love that you highlighted that because we don't really get to see that often. I think for the mainstream audience, they don't see the multi-generational family like live together. And often you don't just live with like your mom. Like when you're married, in like Asian culture, you would live with the in-laws. So talk about your choice of including that in the film.
Specifically the multi-generational
That
part,
and
or?
just the portrayal of her kind of like meeting expectations of her mother-in-law and then the expectations of her kids.
Yeah, well, I think, again, going back to just personal things that were lived, I grew up with my grandma, my nai in the house, and my my yaya too, but he passed away when I was in high school. And so I felt like there's something there that was interesting too. I have an older sister, I have a mom, I was raised in like a house full of women, but like every generation was different. And then I kind of felt like that was just ripe to, again, like fictionalize a little bit of like, okay, well, so like to me, the movie is like, I think there's a version of this movie where the conflict is, oh, like the mom's a tiger mom and Chris isn't getting good enough grades and like she's disappointed in him. And maybe that's like a sliver of the conflict. But to me and to Joe, and we really talked about this, is that the main conflict between the two of them isn't that he's not like this incredible model child. It's really this inability to understand each other because of the immigrant gap, the cultural gap, the generational gap, and then that generational gap specifically is just amplified by another generation where, Nai is like, you should raise him the way that I know how, and she's like, well, I want to raise him the way that I know how, and that is its own conflict that he's he's the heart of it, but he's not in it.
Right.
And so I think Joan and I talked a lot about the sort of thing that both brings them together and tears them apart is, in her eyes and in her character's eyes, is, I want to love you in the ways that you want to be loved, but I don't know how. Like, I literally just don't have the vocabulary to see things the way that you do. And in the movie, every time she tries to give him something that she thinks he needs, it pushes him away, like tutoring or, like the food and all this kind of stuff. And so, that to me was, I think, again, going back to trying to find a different way into stuff that felt familiar. It was even with her character, it was, can we show a different side of Asian motherhood, one that isn't the tiger mom that's already kind of been done time and time again in the sort of like popular imagination, and like hopefully trying to convey something that's still just as complicated, but also show, someone who is more soft-spoken and tender and sensitive and artistic and empathetic and funny. A lot of, like a lot of the moms that I knew growing up, obviously my mom, but like a lot of the other immigrant moms, like my friends' moms, were kind of more in that bucket, I would say, than like
versus the tiger mom.
Yeah, not that I didn't know tiger moms.
No, we all.
I just didn't like them. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you showing like a softer side of that. And so for you, Isaac, getting to do all the scenes with Joan, all the vulnerable ones, all the funny ones, the cute ones. Were there any ones that really stood out to you when you were reading the script? You're like, oh, I can't wait to get to that scene and we get to play off each other.
Man, I'd say there's like two scenes. Like one for the reason that I wanted to do act with Joan, and then another for the reason that it was McDonald's. There was this one scene.
Spoiler time.
Yeah, there was the car scene with Joan was something that was like super like, it wasn't exactly something I was looking forward to. It was something that I was actually worried about, right? Because it was such a like intense scene. It was such a like a super like, you had to really like just be super locked in. Like if you weren't, if you were falling behind and the other actor was like getting like ahead of you, like in terms of like how intimate they were into the scene, you would obviously like not be able to keep up with them. And that's what I was worried about, is I wouldn't be able to keep up with Joan because she's a veteran, and she's like really, really good, And also that was the first scene that I ever did with her, right?
Whoa.
So I was like, the first time she was on set, right? The first thing I ever did is we were immediately yelling at each other in a car, and like,
Wow.
and like when we were like, after we did like a few takes already, I was like, she was such an incredible actor, right? And like I was like, damn, I gotta do my job, right? And so like, but yeah, and that was definitely like probably one of the most difficult scenes that I did on this shoot. And then the other scene is just the McChicken scene where I just ate a bunch of McChickens, which actually ended up sucking in the end because I ate like so many
was it
McChickens.
cold or?
I mean, I didn't mind that they were cold. It was just I ate so many McChickens, I got full.
I ended up having to eat a few for him. Well, he's like mid McChicken in that scene.
Yeah.
And in the first few takes, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna eat it," and then I was like, "Can we do one more?" And he's like, "Can you eat the first few bites?"
Because you have to start fresh every time. Yeah. Wow. I want to take us back to, this is set in the 2007-2008 era, so the technology reflects that. So you've highlighted the rise of Facebook at the time, MySpace, and AIM. What was it like to kind of recreate all of those, like the screen scenes, like we would see Chris typing? Because there was like a really specific way. Whoa.
ASMR.
Hear that?
That's good ASMR right there.
I already cracked mine.
We're now an ASMR channel. Oh, what do you guys do?
Levels on that.
What? That was loud.
Are you sure you're not 30?
So talk a little bit about crafting those, like recreating those scenes, those screen scenes, because it's really, you have to, like when we were chatting in the AIM chat rooms, like there were specific ways people typed with like lowercase, uppercase, and screen names. So what did you kind of walk down the road of nostalgia, having to recreate those?
Yeah, I think the good thing about all the screen scenes is that we really made them in post, but it was almost like making an animated movie. I think the good thing about it is that you could do anything, and the bad part about it was that you could do anything. So we auditioned a bunch of different things, a bunch of different jokes, and even like the fonts of the characters. A lot of it, I think the good part about it is all of that time period, for whatever reason, it's just like locked in with the back of my head. And so sometimes we would see a chat room and it'd be like, I don't know, her font's not right. Like, it doesn't match her personality.
Yeah.
And I think that was, I remember like some girls, they would only type with lowercase letters, but they would use equal sign smiley faces. And that was like
That
one
was
personality.
me.
Oh, you were an equal sign girl?
Yeah.
But some girls were, backwards
yeah.
parentheses, smiley faces, and they
asterisks.
were a little flirtier. It was like girls had different personalities depending on the way they typed. And some people would only write. Some people would like purposefully misspell things. Are you Y-O-U? Are you you? So it was just stuff like that was fun. It was like, it was all character driven, and so we had a lot of fun, like really talking about the design of a MySpace page through like a filmmaker lens. Because when you're 13 designing a MySpace page, you're just kind of throwing things at the wall. And now you're 29 designing a MySpace page, and you're like, but what is her character motivation?
Yeah.
So it was both silly and really fun.
Nice. Final question for you: if you were to have a MySpace page today, MySpace, new thing,
That's a new thing. I
MySpace
like
page
that.
today, what song would you have on your profile?
Man, I already said Chocolate Rain. I think I'll do I don't know, something dumb. You go first. Let me think.
I was hoping you would go first. A MySpace song. It would honestly probably be like stuff I listened to back then still.
Yeah.
I remember
What
having.
did you have? Do you remember?
I would always try and have really obscure bands because I thought it made me cooler. I had a band called Play Radio Play that I really loved.
Yeah.
Again, see, never heard of them.
Yeah, sorry.
I actually have.
You have?
No.
Oh.
10 minutes of microwave sounds.
Ooh.
That'll
make you stand out.
Like little popping of like the food, because no, it's
No,
just
when-
popping.
yeah.
Like, you know how it just pops sometimes, like
Like if you're like microwaving a potato.
yeah. I don't microwave
something, I don't
potatoes,
know.
but like
What do you microwave?
grapes.
Oh yeah.
Microwave a bunch of grapes, see what happens.
What happens?
You'll find out.
You'll find out. You just gotta-
So that's your song?
yeah.
Yeah.
10 minutes of microwave.
Nice. Love it. Well, you guys, congratulations on the movie. I think it's really, really well written, really, really well acted, and I hope everybody sees it when it comes out this week.
Thank you.
Thank
you, guys.
you.
We got to get that clip of you cracking your neck. That was insane.
I'll
I
send
know.
it. I'll send it to you.
Izaac Wang cracking neck ASMR.
Put that on your MySpace page.